Hey everybody, Nick Espinosa, your chief security fanatic here, and today we are talking about the Capitol building breach. Now, you may have seen my video yesterday /podcast. If you didn't, I highly recommend that you see that, because that was the day after the breach. And I had an expert on riot control on, Stan Kephart. This guy has done everything from the 1984 Olympics and on. It was a great breakdown of why the police failed and all of that. That is the physical security side of it. Today, we're going to be talking about the data security side of it, because the Capitol building itself wasn't just breached, so was its data security. Now, here's what's going on. And before I start, I would also like to say I always try to steer clear of politics. If you listen or watch me, you know I like to say that cybersecurity is agnostic to politics, even though we're not immune from it. And in this case, we are absolutely not immune. Now, some of this reporting is coming from NextGov, which I think laid it out pretty well, but I've actually been looking at other sources as well. But this breach of the Capitol building itself really started to showcase the insecurities of the legislative branch of the U.S. government's problems or insecurities with their IT systems. As members of Congress, the staff, other employees in the Capitol were all being evacuated for safety as the rioters were moving in, they left a ton of computers that were basically on that could be accessed essentially by the mob. And we were also receiving reports that computers were also stolen. Now, as of yesterday afternoon, per reporting, there was no public evidence or statements that rioters had gained access to SCIFs. Now, if you don't know what a SCIF is, they're in the Capitol and other government buildings. They're known as sensitive compartmented information facilities. Basically, this is where you are not allowed to bring in your cell phone or any electronic devices to have conversations in highly secure manners. Those rooms are constantly swept for bugs and all of that. We don't, as far as we know, the SCIFs were not breached. That would be a huge security concern. But at least one member of Congress reported a theft of a laptop from his office. We're talking about Senator Jeff Merkley. He's a Democrat from Oregon, and he recorded a video of his essentially destroyed office in the aftermath of this attack once the building was cleared. Now, Merkley said his office door was unlocked, even though the attackers actually chose to rip the door off its hinges. And he said in his video, and I quote, "They stole the laptop that was sitting on the table next to the telephone. At least one photo emerged on social media and later deleted." I've actually been watching and reviewing videos of this as well to compile notes for an upcoming article. At least one video emerged that basically was a screenshot of a desktop computer that was left on and unsecured in the office of Speaker Nancy Pelosi. Obviously, she has access to a lot of stuff, being essentially the leader of the House of Representatives. Now, rioters could have seen open emails and everything else. And if we are thinking about this, think about what somebody who has broken into a building, specifically the Capitol building, one of the most sensitive places in the U.S. government, they could have possibly seen or gained access to emails by members of Congress and their staff, sensitive documents from obviously members of Congress and their staff, classified material potentially as well, and I will get to that as well, possible voicemails off of phones if they are synchronized and sent to their mailboxes, not to mention personally identifiable information on members of Congress, staffers such as phone numbers, personal email addresses, all this kind of stuff. Paper was strewn everywhere, so God knows how many documents were stolen. There was a man from Arkansas that was recently arrested for basically, there was a picture of him sitting at Nancy Pelosi's desk, and he had an envelope that he took that he claimed he paid for because he left a quarter on her desk that basically had Speaker Pelosi's office of Speaker Pelosi and all of that, took it as a souvenir. He has been arrested in Arkansas now, where he's from. Now, on top of all of this, there were also reports that beyond the supporters of the president, there were also members of other organizations there that were recording and doing other things. Now, I am not saying that basically to adjudicate who was there or why. That is not the point of this video. Please, in my feeds and my comments, do not get into arguments about which political group you love or hate or whatever that is. That is not the point here. The bottom line is we had a breach in the Capitol of both a physical barriers were broken, the Capitol was broken into, and data security was compromised as well. I say this because one of the implications of open access to what is essentially a highly sensitive building, and we will get to that in a moment as well, is that foreign operators could have also taken advantage, and that would be a concern for national security as well. Now, here's the good news on this situation. This building is also semi-public. So, for example, I can call my state senator, that would be either Dick Dermott or Tammy Duckworth, I'm in Illinois, or I can call my congresswoman, and I can basically schedule an appointment with them, and as a visitor, in normal circumstances, I can walk into the building essentially and meet them in their offices. And by virtue of that, I will be walking past computer screens of staffers or anything else that's laid out there. I may visually be able to shoulder surf as well, meaning stand over somebody's shoulder and look at it as I'm waiting for let's say, my member of Congress to talk to me. So much of the technology that is out in the semi-public part of the Capitol building is not going to have classified material on it by default. The biggest concern here would be the computers and personal technology of actual elected officials, or let's say their chiefs of staff or other sensitive staffers, that are in Congress. Now, we have standards for data security in place, such as full disk encryption and other compliances. So basically, the theft of a turned off laptop becomes more of an annoyance and not a security risk if full disk encryption is running. But as we've seen lately, thanks to SolarWinds and some other breaches, we have compliance standards, but they're not always followed. And I think that's going to be part of the review here, because part of the cleanup is also going to be that deep review of what data was where, who could have seen it, what was stolen, and on and on and on. This is a complete mess, and by virtue of that, I really think it behooves us to understand that we have physical breaches here, and I literally talked to the physical breach expert yesterday on literally how basically the police barricades and the lines collapsed. They couldn't handle the mob, nor were they trained, and on and on. Go watch that video. I also have it on podcast form, but I urge you to see the video on YouTube or whatever social media platform you follow me on, because it really lays a lot of that out. Today is the data security side of this, and that is a huge problem as well, because if information is moving at 3,000 miles a second, we've got a problem, because that data is around the world 1 million times by now, assuming it got out there. And we're going to see what the aftermath is of this on the dark web, on this regarding stolen equipment and everything else. This is a mess, and we're going to be cleaning it up for a while. And so hopefully nothing sensitive was taken or accessed, but we will see. And please like, share, follow me here on Facebook and Twitter at NickAESP. And please feel free to subscribe to me at YouTube as well. And as always, stay safe and stay online. Thanks, everyone.